Good morning, Steve Bentley here. Happy Tuesday. This is probably one of the nicest areas in the community I live in. It's called Polishing Pond. It's really pretty. Lots of ducks and cormorants and alligators in there and turtles. That's not what I'm going to talk about. So I've been a performance coach for 30 years, as a bunch of you know, and help people get ready for Ironman events and marathons, and pretty intense competitions. I've raced in the World Championships a couple times for Ironman, and fat athletes, dozens of athletes qualify for that race, and a number of them win the World Championships at distances from Olympic to long distance. And all that to say, nothing ever goes according to plan, and all people can do is prepare the best they can for what their goals are. So I'm going to relate this to what's going on now in this current climate. But when it comes to racing, one of the things, and it's just like life, you can only control a certain number of factors. One of them is your effort, so your pace, how fast you're going, what you're fueling your body with, so the stuff you put in your system. So it could be news, could be fuel, whether it's carbohydrates or protein or fat or whatever mixture you're kind of dealing with. And then you can focus on your mental attitude as well. That's about it. There's other things you can do, but you really don't have control over those other things. And quite often when we get into a race, what I'll try and have people do, I remember doing this a lot when I was racing, is focus on the things that you can control, but for sure prepare for the things that you can't. And gosh, when I was racing, we didn't have smartphones, things like this thing here. And I would just have a notepad beside my table when I was sleeping at night, and a pen. And if I thought of things that were something that I thought, oh my gosh, I wasn't prepared for that. Okay, I'm gonna have to write that down, because I don't want to worry about it. I want to write it down and then figure out, okay, the next day, how am I going to get over that? How am I going to get past that issue if it happens? And then when I'm in the race, I'm going to focus on my fueling, my pace, my mental attitude, and then I'm going to be ready for all that stuff that might happen, like crazy weather or a flat tire or a blocking call or something like that. Like whatever is a penalty of sorts. Those are things that I can't control, but I can adapt to them. I can respond properly instead of reacting at the time without a plan. And a lot of times we go through life and we're not really aware of how we're going to be able to get through an issue. So stuff like this happens. We can prepare our life as best as possible. I'm just standing on a boardwalk here. It's really pretty. And we can prepare our life as best as possible. But things are always going to happen to us that we're not going to have control over. So it's, what are we going to do through it to get through it the best way possible? But more importantly, and this is what's so important when it comes to racing, you're never going to have an ideal race. It's not going to happen. You're not going to have an ideal lead up to the race. You're going to get injured. Your work or your family life is going to get in the way, and you're not going to get the training in that you want. And then what happens is you get to the race and you're upset because you weren't able to do everything perfectly. You're never going to be able to do everything perfectly. So one of the things is, what are you going to learn from that process? And that's what I always have my athletes go through, is there's no such thing as a bad race. There's actually no such thing as bad events that happen in your life. They're events that are opportunities to learn from. And when you make it through that, I guess it's bad if you die, but when you make it through that, what did you learn from it? So if you went into a race, for example, and you lost your electrolyte source that you're going to use for the race, well, why didn't you have a spare? I remember doing that in Ironman Hawaii one time. I got hit by a massive crosswind, and the salt capsules that I had jettisoned off, but I'd already thought about that previously and I had a spare bag taped to my bike. So I just reached down and grabbed that spare bag. What is it that you're going to learn from an event, which might be like a flat tire in a transition area? Well, don't use the spare that you've got on your bike. Have one in your transition bag. Like, what are the things that you can learn from when they go wrong? And they're going to allow you to move forward with a better outlook going forward for a better life and the things that you want. So in this situation that's happening right now, a lot of times we're doing great things in our life. And if you're in a great spot right now with your health and your finances, that's awesome. Like, thumbs up. You did all the preparations that you needed to make sure that you're going to be in a great spot going through this. If you're not, it's like analyzing back on the race. What could I have done better? And what am I going to do differently going forward to allow me to have that optimal experience that I'm looking for as I go through life? Don't waste this opportunity that's happening right now. Like, take stock of what's happening around you, to other people, to your family, and think, okay, what is it that I can do differently? Because I see two different types of people right now. There's those type of people that are just holding their breath and waiting until this is past, and then they're going to go back to exactly what they were doing before all this started. And then there's the other people that are taking stock of what's happening and thinking, okay, I don't ever want to feel like this again going forward. What is it that I can do a little differently? It doesn't have to be massive change, but what can I do a little differently that's going to allow me, if this happens again, and I believe it will, what can I do a little differently to get the results that I'm looking for, to improve my outcome, to improve my chance of success that I'm expecting to have in my life? Or am I going to be just going back to the exact same old thing that I did before and get the exact same result that I get every time something goes wrong? Learn from this. Figure out what you're going to do a little differently and have that better race the next time you toe the starting line. And that race is life. So have a great day. Enjoy the rest of the week. Stay healthy. Apparently you got to wear your mask when you go out. Take it easy. Bye.